In the Name of Traditions, a comprehensive study on the impact of female genital mutilation, FGM, on women and girls. An overview of female genital mutilation, FGM, in Iran. Kameel Ahmady. Abstract. A comprehensive study was undertaken to investigate, explore, and analyze the existence of female genital mutilation, cutting, FGM or FGMC, in Iran. The time span of the study began in 2005 and ended in 2014. The aim of the study was to provide in-depth data on FGM in Iran and, at the same time, provide the building blocks for a comprehensive program to combat FGM in Iran and bring this issue onto the world's agenda. The methodological approach adapted by the study was primarily participatory. Due to the sensitivity of the subject matter, most parts of this research were completed by the end of 2014, and much has been achieved over a decade of studying the subject of FGM in Iran. The study included traveling thousands of kilometers and interviewing over 3,000 women and 1,000 men from various areas and social classes, including key role players, community leaders, clerics, and religious leaders, in order to compile comprehensive data about the practice of FGM in Iran. The findings demonstrate that FGM in some locations is widespread among women and girls. Around 60% in some villages of Qeshm Island in the southern province of Hormozgan, especially in the villages of the four provinces in the northwest, west, and south of Iran. FGM was not, however, practiced in the northern parts of West Azerbaijan, where people are Turkish Azeri and Kermanshah Kurdish speakers, nor in the southern parts of Kermanshah and northern parts of Hormozgan. This research study, along with the short documentary film, has gained global recognition and was launched by The Guardian and the BBC on 4th of June 2015 through their websites. Shortly thereafter, it was discussed at a United Nations meeting of the Human Rights Council in Geneva. On 19th June 2015, at a session on eliminating FGM, Radars also published an analysis of the research and considered it one of the rare contributions in the history of Iran. Keywords: female genital mutilation, cutting, Iran, Islam, culture, Kurds. Introduction. Combating female genital mutilation, also known as female cutting, FGM or FGC, is a controversial subject globally, and its elimination is considered imperative by feminists, human rights campaigners, and social activists, as well as international organizations such as UNICEF and responsible governments. The practice generally involves the partial, or, in some extreme cases, the total removal of the external parts of the female genitalia. In English, the term female circumcision has been used for this practice to compare it with male circumcision. Nowadays, however, as a result of the work of feminist activists against this practice, female genital mutilation, FGM, is the preferred expression. An extreme form of FGM can have serious health consequences for a girl, including transmutation or even, in some cases, death, due to the severe bleeding and infections. In the long term, women who have been subjected to FGM suffer undesirable health effects in their lives, especially in marriage. Recent data from the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, indicates that roughly 130 million girls and women alive today, worldwide, have undergone some form of FGM, UNICEF 2014. Further research shows that 92 million of them are over the age of 10 and most live in Africa. According to the official UN data, FGM is practiced in 29 countries in Western, Eastern, and Northeastern Africa, in parts of the Middle East and Asia, and within some immigrant communities in Europe, North America, and Australia. And FGM 2012, UNICEF 2013. Its prevalence in several countries exceeds 80%. UNICEF 2014. The age of girls undergoing FGM varies from one culture to another. In general, it is performed on a girl between the ages of 4 and 12. However, in some cultures, it is practiced on newborns or just prior to marriage. FGM is a long-standing ritual that continues to violate aspects of women's sexual rights. It prevails in societies because of certain beliefs, norms, attitudes, and political and economic systems. While there is some data available on FGM in Iran, it is limited in scope. This research has, for the first time, given a complete overview of the prevalence of FGM in the whole of Iran, with a focus on the most FGM-affected areas in the western provinces, West Azerbaijan, Kurdistan, and Kermanshah, and in some areas of southern Hormozgan province and its islands. The central objective of the current research study was to benefit communities with its findings and recommendations and to give the government, individuals, and NGOs large, updated, authentic datasets about the existence of FGM in Iran. The findings of the study contribute to the two large perspectives. Firstly, it works as a baseline for future studies and research in Iran, which is required. Secondly, it will help create and increase awareness about the presence of FGM to focus the attention of the Iranian government to its international liabilities and responsibilities. More broadly, the research also refutes to long-standing belief that Africa is the only continent where FGM takes place, and at the same time provides enough evidence to ensure that FGM is never again denied in Iran. Exposing this data will assist Iranian society, children's rights, lobbies, and international organizations in starting dialogues with the relevant stakeholders to help address and combat FGM in Iran. The study introduces FGM along with the well-known justification given by communities that practice it, besides revealing the truth about the practice of FGM in Iran, discusses historical perspectives on the ritual, the prevalence of the practice across the region and the globe, the emerging reduction in the occurrence of FGM, and the range of beliefs and reasons underlying it. It also highlights the number of practices programs adopted so far to tackle the issue in the specified areas of Iran. The report also considers the historical fight against FGM, some legislative measures against it, the role of clerics, the community and governments, and most importantly, men's perceptions in this regard. Historical perspective and global prevalence. In the most cultures, talking about women's sexuality is a taboo, and for that reason, it is difficult to get precise information on the historical roots of this ritual of FGM. The origins of FGM are not precisely known. Although historians and anthropologists have done much research on this topic, several sources have traced it back more than 2,000 years and generally point to ancient Egypt, specifically areas around the Nile, as its geographical heartland, from where it spread. Slack, 1988. Some historians claim that it is a pharaonic practice, and that its roots lie in the 5th century BC Egypt. Anthropologists mention it as an African Stone Age way of protecting a young female person from rape. Lightfoot Klein, 1983. Some research has linked it with early 17th century Somalia where it was carried out to get better price for female slaves, and with an Egyptian practice to prevent pregnancies in women and slaves. Lightfoot Klein, 1983. The early Roman and Arabic civilizations linked FGM with virginity and chastity. In ancient Rome, female slaves were made to undergo it to oppress sexual activity and to raise their values. Tankwala, 2014. It is well known that FGM was traditionally practiced in many parts of the world and is not limited to Africa and the Middle East. It was practiced by Australian Aboriginal communities. Harris Short, 2013. The Phoenicians, the Hittites, the Ethiopians. Rahman and Tobia, 2000. And the ethnic groups of Amazonia, some parts of India, Pakistan, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Giora, 2013. In the 19th century, FGM was practiced in Europe and the US, where some physicians embarked on clitoridectomy to prevent masturbation or counteract female homosexuality. In some mental disorders, such as hysteria, Brown, 1866. In fact, FGM sporadically continued in the USA until the 1970s in one form or another. FGM predates Islam and Christianity. However, most communities that perform FGM are Muslim, and so religion is frequently cited as a reason for its continuation. Bob, 2011. Nonetheless, Islamic scholars do not all agree with this notion, and some condemn the attachment of the practice to Islam. FGM also occurs among small groups of Christians, animists, and Jews and members of indigenous religions. Bob, 2011. Nyongweso, 2014. For example, in Eritrea and Ethiopia, Coptic and Catholic Christian communities practice FGM. In the Jewish group Beta Israel and Falasha, FGM is widespread. Faveli and Pateman, 2003. According to the UNICEF data, FGM is most common in 29 countries in Africa, as well as in some countries in Asia and Middle East, and among certain migrant communities in North America, Australia, the Middle East, and Europe. UNICEF, 2013. There is no evidence for it in Southern Africa or in the Arabic-speaking nations or North Africa, except Egypt. Tobia, 1995. Increased migration of people from practicing countries has resulted in the spreading of FGM to other parts of the world, including Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the US, and European nations. Boyle, 2005. The practice can also be found to a lesser extent in Indonesia, Malaysia, Pakistan, and India. Azika and Yusuf, 2013. In Iraq, FGM is practiced among Sunni Kurds, some Arabs, and Turkmen. A survey done by a number of NGOs in 2005 suggests 60% prevalence among Kurds in Iraq. Garib and Doherty, 2004, 226. Later studies from the same area, following the launch of a number of local and regional campaigns to combat FGM, suggested a lower rate. According to the Kurdish regional government, UNICEF and local NGOs, FGM rates have been dropping rapidly. Reliable figures on the prevalence of FGM are increasingly available. A statistical review by UNICEF mentions that national data have now been collected in the Demographical and Health Survey Program, DHS, for 6 countries: the Central African Republic, Côte d'Ivoire, Egypt, Eritrea, Mali, and Sudan. In these countries, the rate among reproductive age women varies from 43% to 97%. Data from these countries also subdivide the rates among different ethnic groups. The statistics have, until recently, been silent about FGM's presence in the US and a few other Western countries. UNICEF 2013. Iran is now also on the list of practicing countries. Background of the research study. This paper is based on a study that attempted to identify the prevalence of FGM in Iran and investigated the role of diverse contributing factors. In 2005, a field study in a number of neighboring regions began. And at the same time, as the data was collected, a documentary was made from the interviews and related footage. The first and only publicly available documentary about FGM in Iran, in the name of tradition, was filmed in the Kurdish villages and neighborhoods of Mahabad, in some villages of the nearby Kurdistan province, in regions of Haraman, in Kermanshah province, and in Hormozgan province in the south of Iran. Ahmady, 2006. This anthropological documentary contains recorded footage and interviews from the regions and villages of Kermanshah and Hormozgan province and from its islands. For example, Qeshm, Hormozgan, and Kish, as well as interviewing local women and female cutters, bibis, that is, professional cutters. The documentary records the opinions of local men, medical staff, doctors, and clerics. Based on the findings of the film, it was clear that there was a need for further research to examine FGM systematically in Iran, especially in the geographical pockets where there is a high prevalence. A scientific countrywide research project was therefore started. Local resources were required to carry out such a comprehensive study. Training was provided for a number of young, enthusiastic male and female students and individuals who were willing to participate and conduct most of the face-to-face field interviews. UNICEF-style standardized questionnaires were used to collect data. Evidence from the preliminary research and documentary indicated that FGM is less likely to occur in towns. The focus of the research was therefore rural areas. Initially, villages were picked randomly from predefined geographical positions in the north, west, east, and south. However, as the research progressed, more comprehensive village-by-village training and pilot projects were implemented. As the fact-finding mission progressed and more areas from each province were visited and samples taken, the research teams were led to neighboring villages and regions and finally to the south of Iran and the province of Hormozgan, where the rate of FGM is highest. Maps, local guides, clerics, and personal connections were utilized throughout this study. The research was conducted over the span of 10 years by a small but very enthusiastic group. Since the study was not a full-time project and was conducted during different seasons, the initial fact-finding mission, fieldwork, and training took place between 2005 and 2015. The study employed multiple approaches, such as different phases. Fieldwork and training took place between 2005 and 2015. The study employed multiple approaches, such as different phases, strategies, methods, and tailor-made training manuals to fit the various states and languages to each region. A number of pilot programs were run in different regions, to the east and west, where face-to-face visits with community stakeholders took place. Awareness-raising sessions, using different approaches, mainly with young women, were arranged to highlight the dangers of FGM on female bodies and human lives. The sensitization of men was also part of the approach. The team engaged with groups of men in mosques, houses, and many public places to measure levels of success. Different sessions of lobbying were held in community leaders and, most importantly, with cleric and local women, as well as local and regional sheikhs, to gain their support for banning FGM. and issuing local fatwas. After each piece of fieldwork and face-to-face training lobbying, follow-up visits of some of the villages were carried out twice and 1 year later to assess the success and impact of the pilot programs. Research methodology. International data on FGM has been collected through a separate module of the Demographic and Health Surveys Program, DHS, since the beginning of 1990. The module has yielded a rich dataset comparable over many countries, mainly in Africa. Since the prevalence of FGM in Iran has not been addressed by UN, UNICEF, or any other international organizations, a module similar to that of the DHS's was used to conduct the first ever countrywide data collecting project. The methodological approach adopted by this study was primarily participatory due to the subject matter. This methodological framework took into account the views of women and girls, in particular those of actual victims, so that the findings would reflect their true views. The language of the interviews was simple and user-friendly to avoid any ambiguity or misunderstandings between the participants. Since the research stretched over the period of 10 years, the methodology was adjusted along the way as we came up with new strategies. UNICEF-style standardized questionnaires were used to collect data in the style of DHS, and UNICEF's Multiple Indicator Cluster Surveys, MICS. Importantly, good communication and networking allowed the researchers to win support from the local population, some community and religious leaders, and a number of academics. Local individuals were chosen for the work, the aim being to ensure they adhered to ethical standards and maintained confidentiality. As May puts it, ethical standards in research are binding, hence need to be adhered to irrespective of the circumstances surrounding the research. They remind us of our responsibilities to people being researched. May 2011. She adds that it's easier for participants. Also, if they can take part with peace of mind, having all the relevant information about the research. May 2011. For this research, participants were asked for their consent and were informed prior to the commencement of the research how the data would be utilized and what we aim to achieve with the findings. In some cases, interviews were conducted over the phone rather than in person. Applying the same standards, a total of 4,000 interviews were carried out. Provinces of Hormozgan, West Azerbaijan, Kermanshah, and Kurdistan. In each province, 1,000 interviews were conducted involving 750 women and 250 men. For the first time in Iran, there was a focus on male perspective to examine their role in the perpetuation of FGM. However, getting female opinions was a bit tricky due to the conservative nature of the area and the sensitivity of the research topic. FGM in Iran. A detailed display of the findings. Prevalence of FGM by age. Chart 1 below gives an overview of the number of women who have undergone FGM, broken down by age, in our chosen 4 provinces. For uniformity in result, a number of villages per province were selected for the research. The results clearly show the regional differences in FGM prevalence. Chart 1 shows that the percentage of women who have been cut in High Hormozgan province, where it can reach 60% in some of the villages of Qeshm, Hormuz, and Larak Islands. It is at its lowest in the villages of Persian at 31%. Northern parts of the province were FGM-free. Kermanshah province had the second highest prevalence of 41% in villages of Pave. However, in Kurdistan and West Azerbaijan, the numbers are comparatively low. Analysis showed that the proportion of women in the 30 to 49 age bracket who have been cut is higher than that of women and girls aged 15 to 29 in Hormozgan and Qeshm Island. The prevalence of FGM among women aged 29 to 49 reached 61%. On the other hand, it appears to have been eliminated in Sahne, Lakastan, in Kermanshah, where we found no evidence of it, among women and girls aged 15 to 29. These findings demonstrate an encouraging trend of FGM decreasing in all 4 provinces. For instance, in Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, the rate is less than 10% among the younger generation. Similarly, in Javanrud, in the same province, there's a sharp decline from 41% in older women to 9% in younger women and girls. In some of the villages of Ravansar, it again drastically decreased to 17% from 43%. Chart 1. Proportion of women who have undergone FGM by age. The chart consists of 2 parts, one going from number 0 to 100%, and the other consists of 4 provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. There are 2 colors, blue and red. Blue from 15 to 29, and red from 30 to 49. These are ages. Sakez, blue 2%, red 20%, Divandare, blue 8%, red 34%, Marivan, blue 22%, red 56%, Kameel, blue 16%, red 44%, Bane, blue 2%, red 24%, Ravansar, blue 17%, red 43%, Javanrud, blue 9%, red 41%, Pave, blue 28%, red 51%, Sahne, blue 0%, red 8%, Sarpol Zahab, blue 0%, red 14%, Sardasht, blue 5%, red 39%, Piranshah, blue 8%, red 43%, Mahabad, blue 7%, red 34%, Bukan, blue 4%, red 40%, Shahindej, blue 1%, red 29%, Minab, blue 29%, red 48%, Bandar Khamir, blue 37%, red 52%, Bandar Lenge, blue 31%, red 43%, Qeshm Hormozgan, blue 45%, red 61%, Persian, blue 28%, red 42%. Chart 2. Overall proportion of women aged 15 to 49 who have undergone FGM. The chart consists of 2 parts, one from growing percentage 0 to 100, and the other consists of 4 provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Sakez 3%, Divandare 12%, Marivan 32%, Kameel 42%, Bane 4%, Ravansar 23%, Javanrud 18%, Pave 41%, Sahne 2%, Sarpol Zahab 6%, Sardash 23%, Piranshah 27%, Mahabad 21%, Bukan 18%, Shahindej 7%, Minab 32%, Bandar Khamir 44%, Bandar Lenge 51%, Qeshm and Hormozgan 60%, Persian 31%. Generational trends. The inverse relationship between age and FGM prevalence reveals that women who have undergone FGM know the suffering this practice brings. Our feedback indicated that the new generation are aware and have their own thinking about how to lead their lives. Therefore, when a couple gets married, they prefer their daughters not to suffer the way women of previous generations did. Data were gathered through separate analytical questions to analyze the attitudinal change of mothers toward FGM over time. The findings of the survey revealed a big change in favor of ending FGM. Chart 3 shows the ratio of women who have undergone FGM, age 15 to 49, who have at least one daughter who has been cut. The difference between the 15 to 29 and 13 to 49 age brackets is very prominent in Kermanshah, where we see a decline in almost 90% in Javanrud and Ravansar, and around 50% in Pave. As mentioned earlier, we found no evidence of FGM in the 15 to 29 age bracket in Sahne Lokestan, and the same applies to Zahab. In Hormozgan province, the data show about a 50% decrease in West Azerbaijan. Roughly a 90% decrease between the generations was noted. Kurdistan also mirrored Hormozgan, showing a decrease in excess of 90% in some areas. It is pertinent to mention that the following data reflects those mothers who had the opportunity to cut their daughters and refused. There was also a large number of women who mentioned that their other daughters were still too young, but that once they reached an appropriate age, they would undergo FGM. Chart 3. Portion of mothers who have undergone FGM with at least one daughter who has been cut by age. The chart consists of two parts, one from going percentage 0 to 100, and the other consists of 4 provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Blue, the number from 15 to 29, age. Red, 30 to 49, age. Sakez, blue 1%, red 20%. Divan Darre, blue 6%, red 34%. Marivan, blue 16%, red 56%. Kamiran, blue 11%, red 44%. Bane, blue 2%, red 24%. Ravansar, blue 7%, red 43%. Javandrut, blue 5%, red 41%. Pave, blue 21%, red 51%. Sahne, blue 0%, red 8%. Sarpol Zahab, blue 0%, red 14%. Sardasht, blue 3%, red 39%. Piranshah, blue 5%, red 43%. Mahabad, blue 4%, red 34%. Bukan, blue 3%, red 40%. Shahindej, blue 1%, red 29%. Minab, blue 21%, red 48%. Bandar Khamir, blue 29%, red 52%. Bandar Lenge, blue 25%, red 43%. Keshman Hormozgan, blue 35%, red 61%. Persian, blue 20%, red 42%. Chart 4. Overall proportion of mothers who have undergone FGM have at least one daughter who have been cut. The chart consists of two parts, one from going percentage 0 to 100, and the other 4 provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Sakez, 10%. Divan Darre, 30%. Marivan, 40%. Kamiran, 30%. Bane, 20%. Ravansar, 30%. Javanrud, 30%. Pave, 50%. Sahne, 0%. Sarpol Zahab, 0%. Sardasht, 10%. Piranshah, 20%. Mahabad, 20%. Bukan, 20%. Shahindej, 10%. Minab, 60%. Bandar Khamir, 70%. Bandar Lenge, 50%. Keshman Hormozgan, 70%. Persian, 60%. Impact of education. Per the guidelines of DHS and MICS, data were collected to examine the relationship between the educational attainment of mothers and FGM prevalence in their daughters. Chart 5 shows the significant impact of having an educated mother on whether a girl is subjected to FGM or not. and can be seen through the available findings that a woman's educational attainment is one important factor in whether or not her daughter will undergo FGM. The research and conversations with women reveal that more highly educated women prefer not to victimize their daughters in this way. The lower a woman's educational attainment, the more likely she is to follow traditions blindly, considering it a social norm or religious duty. Some highly educated mothers have had one of their daughters cut, although the rate is vanishingly small or non-existent. In 4 of the provinces, the data collected from the Kurdish region suggests that the practice is in decline due to the higher level of education among women. The findings also show that highly educated women are less likely to support FGM generally, with fewer than 20% of those surveyed doing so. However, for such attitudes to make a practical difference, empowerment of women is also required. Chart 5. Proportion of mothers who have at least one daughter who has been cut by level of education. The chart consists of 2 parts, one going from number 0 to 100, and the other 4 provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Blue, no education. Red, some education. Sakez, blue, 46%. Red, 2%. Divandare, blue, 64%. Red, 7%. Marivan, blue, 63%. Red, 11%. Kameel, blue, 61%. Red, 9%. Bane, blue, 54%. Red, 1%. Ravansar, blue, 50%. Red, 4%. Javanrut, blue, 49%. Red, 3%. Pave, blue, 68%. Red, 10%. Sahne, blue, 54%. Red, 0. Sarpul Zaha, blue, 51%. Red, 0. Sardasht, 52%. Red, 3%. Piranshah, blue, 58%. Red, 5%. Mahabad, blue, 52%. Red, 1%. Bukan, blue, 49%. Red, 3%. Shahindej, blue, 23%. Red, 2%. Minab, blue, 51%. Red, 9%. Bandar Khamir, blue, 60%. Red, 11%. Bandar Lenge, blue, 55%. Red, 7%. Kameel and Hormozgan, blue, 62%. Red, 13%. Persian, blue, 56%. Red, 11%. Chart 6. Mothers with at least one daughter who has undergone FGM. Ratio of mothers with some education to mothers with no education. The chart consists of 2 parts, one going from number 0.0 to 1.0, and the other 4 provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Sakez 0.0, Divandare 0.1, Marivan 0.2, Kameel 0.1, Bane 0.0, Ravansar 0.1, Javanrud 0.1, Pave 0.1, Sahne 0.0, Sarpul Zahab 0.0, Sardash 0.1, Piranshah 0.1, Mahabad 0.0, Bukan 0.1, Shahindej 0.1, Minab 0.2, Bandar Khamir 0.2, Bandar Lenge 0.1, Kameel and Hormozgan 0.2, Persian 0.2. Previous studies and the underlying research found that FGM is a ritual performed by the majority of Sunni minorities in Iran. Though it is a myth, most of the world considers FGM to be an Islamic practice. However, even within Islam, there is a division in opinions on its practice. For Shias, who are the majority in Iran, the official religion of Iran is also based on Shia faith. This is a practice related to Sunni sect. They refuse to consider this a part of their religion obligations. Therefore, the prevalence of FGM is very low in the Shia population. The findings of this study into the prevalence of FGM in different sects clearly indicate that Shias in Kurdistan do not practice FGM. In West Azerbaijan, only 2% of Shias do. In Sahne and Sarpul Zahab villages, the rates are 4% and 5%, respectively, among Shia. In Hormozgan province, minimal traces of FGM were recorded in Shia communities in selected villages, which shows that, though minimal, FGM is a part of Shia people's culture in Hormozgan. In Hormozgan province, minimal traces of FGM were recorded in Shia communities in selected villages, which shows that, though minimal, FGM is a part of Shia people's culture in Hormozgan. Chart 7. Percentage distribution of women who have undergone FGM by sect. The chart consists of two parts, one from percentage 0 to 100 and one for provinces. Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan and Hormozgan. Blue, Sunni, red, Shia. Sakez, blue, 100, red, 0. Divandare, blue, 100, red, 0. Marivan, blue, 100, red, 0. Kamiran, blue, 100, red, 0. Bane, blue, 100, red, 0. Ravansar, blue, 98%, red, 2%. Javanrud, blue, 100, red, 0. Pave, blue, 100, red, 0. Sahne, blue, 96%, red, 4%. Sarpul Zahab, blue, 95%, red, 5%. Sardasht, blue, 100, red, 0. Piranshah, blue, 100, red, 0. Mahabad, blue, 100, red, 0. Bukan, blue, 100, red, 0. Shahindej, blue, 98%, red, 2%. Minab, blue, 83%, red, 17%. Bandar Khamir, blue, 95%, red, 5%. Bandar Lenge, blue, 94%, red, 6%. Keshman Hormozgan, blue, 96%, red, 4%. Persian, blue, 98%, red, 2%. Impact of household wealth. Poverty is closely linked with the practice of FGM in Iran. In order to measure the impact of financial status, DHS and MICS questionnaires were used to gather information on household assets and household ownership, along with the characteristics of dwellings, such as sanitation facilities used and access to safe drinking water. Each asset was assigned a weight, and individuals were ranked according to the total score of the household in which they reside. FGM prevalence appears to fall among women from families with wealthy backgrounds. But the relationship between household wealth and FGM is not always consistent. Overall, as Chart 8 shows, FGM prevalence appears to be lower among women from families with wealthy financial backgrounds in all 4 provinces. The prevalence of FGM among richer women was less than 15%. The findings revealed that in the selected 4 provinces, there is a homogeneity in terms of prevalence of FGM among wealthy households. Only in Marivan villages in Kurdistan and Pave villages in Kermanshah were the rates higher, at 23% and 19% respectively among wealthy households, while in the rest, there was less than 15% occurrence among richer women. An improved financial status makes it easier for families to access better lives, education, exposure to messaging, and knowledge. Therefore, their perception of life and practices are different. However, some among the wealthy still adhere to FGM. Chart 8. Proportion of women who have undergone FGM by financial status. The chart consists of 2 parts, one from percentage 0 to 100, the other for provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan and Hormozgan. Blue, wealthy family, red, poor family. Sakez, blue, 1, red, 28%. Divandare, blue, 9, red, 61%. Marivan, blue, 23, red, 51%. Cameron, blue 13, red 59%, Bane, blue 1, red 32%, Ravansar, blue 8, red 52%, Javonrut 7, blue, red 51%, Pave, blue 19, red 49%, Sahne, blue 3, red 54%, Sarpul Zahab, blue 2, red 41%, Sardasht, blue 8, red 53%, Piranshah, blue 9, red 48%, Mahabad, blue 2, red 49%, Bukan, blue 4, red 39%, Shindej, blue 3, red 50%, Minab, blue 6, red 45%, blue 6, red 45%, Bandar Khamir, blue 8, red 44%, Bandar Linge, blue 5, red 51%, Kashman Hormozgan, blue 6, red 39%, Persian, blue 9, red 41%. Chart 9. Ratio of FGM prevalence among women from wealthy families to FGM prevalence among women from poor families. The chart consists of two parts, one from going numbers 0.0 to 1.0, and the other for provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Saqqez 0.0, Divan Dare 0.1, Marivan 0.5, Kamiran 0.2, Bane 0.0, Ravansar 0.2, Javonrud 0.1, Pave 0.4, Sahne 0.1, Sarpul Zahab 0.0, Sardash 0.2, Piranshah 0.2, Mahabad 0.0, Bukan 0.1, Shahindej 0.1, Minab 0.1, Bandar Khamir 0.2, Bandar Linge 0.1, Kashman Hormozgan 0.2, Persian 0.2. Roles of men's and women's perceptions in FGM. It is important to discover how the men's and women's perception of FGM influenced its survival, and who plays a prominent role in making decisions to go ahead with FGM. The research used gender-focused questionnaires to try to get at the facts. The data show that the most prominent figure in determining whether a girl is subjected to FGM is female, mostly the mother or grandmother, but sometimes another female relative. Men have some say in this, but not a dominant one. As for general support for FGM, the figures show that in Hormozgan, support is felt by up to 44% of women in Qeshm, Hormuz, and Larak Islands, while on the corresponding level among men is 33%. In Pave and Javonrud in Kermanshah, support is lower at 21% of women and less than 10% of men. The results show that, despite the patriarchal nature of society, men appear less concerned about FGM than women. However, many women feel a silent pressure from the patriarchy and so are compelled to continue the ritual. Chart 10. Prevalence of FGM supporters, men and women. The chart consists of two parts, one from going percentage 0 to 50% and the other of four provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Blue, men; red, women. Saqqez, blue and red, 1%. Divan Dare, blue, 5%, red, 11. Marivan, blue, 10, red, 26. Kamiran, blue, 7, red, 19. Bane, blue, 1, red, 0. Ravansar, blue 8, red 21. Javonrud, blue 5, red 21%. Pave, blue 21, red 33. Sahne, both 0. Sarpul Zahab, both 0. Sardasht, blue 15, red 12%. Piranshah, blue 10, red 19%, Mehabad blue 6, red 12, Bukan blue 6, red 10, Shahindej blue 1, red 2%, Minab blue 19, red 32, Bandar Khamir blue 23, red 39, Bandar Lenge blue 11, red 31, Kameel and Hormozgan blue 33, red 44, Persian blue 13, red 32. Chart 11. Ratio of FGM supporters, men and women. The chart consists of two parts, one from number 0.0 to 1.4 and the other for provinces, Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan and Hormozgan, Sakez 1.0, Divan 0.5, Marivan 0.4, Kamiran 0.4, Bane 0.0, Ravansar 0.4, Javanrud 0.2, Pave 0.6, Sahne 0.0, Sarpul Zahab 0.0, Sardasht 1.3, Piranshah 0.5, Mehabad 0.5, Bukan 0.6, Shahindej 0.5, Minab 0.6, Bandar Khamir 0.6, Bandar Lenge 0.4, Kameel and Hormozgan 0.8, and Persian 0.4. Influence of the type of FGM practitioner. Another contributing factor to the perpetuation of FGM is the vested interest of the cadres who are available within each community and the financial rewards they receive. FGM in Iran is performed by three types of people: Roma groups, bibis, midwives, and family members, in practice older women. The scenario in every provenance is distinctive. In Hormozgan, FGM is mostly performed by traditional practitioners, including bibis. However, in some areas or situations, family members may get involved. In West Azerbaijan, FGM is mainly performed by Roma groups who illegally cross from Iraqi Kurdistan into Iranian Kurdistan and West Azerbaijan province. They stay in the area for most of spring and summer, but fear arrest from the Iranian border police and keep away from towns and large cities due to not having passports, visas. These groups are making good money by carrying out FGM in the area mostly. They do not use safe methods, which causes multiple types of disease. Besides Roma groups, a mix of cadres have been found among family members and traditional practitioners. In Kermanshah and Kurdistan villages, FGM is carried out by traditional practitioners, although in some villages, Roma groups and bibis are active. They perform FGM with a razor or knife, without anesthesia. There is no concept of medicalized and hygienic cutting. Chart 12. Percentage of distribution of FGM by type of practitioners. Unknown, no information, not shown on graph. The chart consists of two parts, one from going percentage 0 to 100, and the other for provinces, Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. There are three colors: blue, traditional practitioners; red, family members; green, other, Roma. Sakez, blue, 46, red, 15, green, 30. Divandare, blue, 61, red, 13. Green, 19. Marivan, blue, 67, red, 21, green, 5. Kamiran, blue, 66, red, 33, green, 0. Bane, blue, 48, red, 6, green, 4. Ravansar, blue, 67, red, 30, green 0. Ravanrud, blue 65, red 28, green 0. Pave, blue 87, red 12, green 8. Sahne, blue 0, red 1, green 45. Sarpul Zahab, blue 0, red 5, green 13. Sardasht, blue and red 8, green 76. Piranshah, blue 9, red 3, green 82. Mahabad, blue 9, red 6, green 76. Bukan, blue 8, red 7, green 88. Shahindej, blue 0, red 1, green 98%. Minab, blue 92, red 5, green 0. Bandar Khamir, blue 9, red 6, green 0. Bandar Lenge, blue 88, 9, green 0. Kermanshah and Hormozgan, blue 95, red 4, green 0. Persian, blue 91, red 4, green 0. Chart 13. Ratio of FGM practitioners, traditional practitioners to other practitioners. The chart consists of two parts, one going from number 0.0 to 25.0 and the other for provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan and Hormozgan. Saqqez 1.6, Divan Darre 1.9, Marivan 2.6, Kamiran 2.0, Bane 4.8, Ravansar 2.2, Javanrud 2.8, Pave 4.4, Sahne 0.0, Sarpul Zahab 0.0, Sardash 0.1, Piranshah 0.1, Mahabad 0.1, Bukan 0.1, Shahindej 0.0, Minab 18.4, Bandar Khamir 15.0, Bandar Lenge 9.8, Kermanshah and Hormozgan 23.8, and Persian 22.8. Role of women's education in support of FGM. Education plays a significant role in shaping people's opinions and influencing their points of view. In order to gauge whether or not differences in levels of education can affect levels of support for FGM, a survey was carried out in the 4 selected provinces in Iran. The findings show that highly educated women are less likely to support the continuity of the practice. The percentages of the educated women who support FGM are higher in Hormozgan province, falling between 11% and 19%. In West Azerbaijan, the level of support for the practice among educated women is very low. Similarly, in Kermanshah province, FGM is supported by 6%, 7%, and 18% of women in Javanrud, Ravansar, and Pave villages, respectively. There is a similar situation in Kurdistan, where some educated women support the continuation of the practice, while the remainder are against it. It shows that education can influence behaviors, attitudes, and opinions. However, there are other factors of empowerment which, altogether, can make a difference. Chart 14. Percentage of women who support FGM by level of education. The chart consists of two parts, one going from percentage 0 to 100 and the other for provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. There are two colors: blue, some education; red, no education. Saqqez, blue 0, red 1. Divan Darre, blue 2, red 29. Marivan, blue 11, red 39. Kamiran, blue 9, red 34. Bane, blue 0, red 1. Ravansar, blue 7, red 29. Javanrud, blue 6, red 27. Pave, blue 18, red 41. Sahne, both 0. Sarpul Zahab, blue 0, red 1. Sardasht, blue 2, red 21. Piranshah, blue 1, red 32. Ahmady, blue 0, red 31. Bukan, blue 1, red 29. Shahindej, blue 0, red 23. Minab, blue 11, red 39. Bandar Khamir, blue 13, red 43. Bandar Lenge, blue 15, red 40. Kameel and Hormozgan, blue 19, red 47. Persian, blue 11, red 33. Chart 15. Women who support FGM ratio of women with some education to women with no education. The chart consists of two parts, one going from number 0.0 to 0.5, and the other for provinces: Kurdistan, Kermanshah, West Azerbaijan, and Hormozgan. Sakız 0.0, Divandere 0.1, Marivan 0.3, Kamiran 0.2, Bane 0.0, Ravansar and Javanrud 0.2, Pave 0.4, Sahne and Sarpul Zahab 0.0, Sardasht 0.1, Piranshah, Mahabad, Bukan, and Shahindej 0.0, Minab 0.3, Bandar Khamir 0.3, Bandar Lenge and Kameel and Hormozgan 0.4, Persian 0.3. FGM in Iran is not new. However, the unavailability of data made it practically invisible. Furthermore, the government was reluctant to admit its existence, and ordinary people were also silent as the whole subject was taboo. Data clearly show that the highest prevalence of FGM can be found in Hormozgan province, although it is also common in a few other provinces in the northwest and west of Iran. The study revealed that FGM occurs in some villages of 3 western provinces and 1 southern province. Western provinces are populated by a majority of Sunni Shafi, and the southern province of Hormozgan and its islands have significant Sunni Shafi communities. Given that the different religious and ethnic groups are dispersed through all the provinces, drawing an exact FGM-affected area map with rate of FGM is problematic. For example, the practice of FGM in Iranian Kurdistan is patchy and will show sharp variations from one region to another, even from one village to a nearby village. Most parts of this research had come to a stop by the end of 2014. Despite this apparent setback, much has been achieved over a decade of studying the subject of FGM in Iran. It included traveling over thousands of kilometers, visiting more than 200 villages, and interviewing more than 4,000 women and some men from various areas and social classes to collect data about FGM practice. Although this research has not been fully evaluated, our preliminary findings demonstrate that FGM in some selected villages is widespread among women and girls. Around 60% in some villages of Qeshm Island. In villages of 4 provinces in northwest, west, and south of Iran. Within these provinces, however, FGM was not practiced in the northern parts of West Azerbaijan, where people are Kermanshah Kurdish speakers, or in the southern parts of Kermanshah and northern parts of Hormozgan. The real rate of FGM today is something that must be gleaned from the number of newborns and young children who are being cut. It is a good sign that the prevalence of FGM among women and girls aged 15 to 29 is lower by 30% than among women aged 30 to 49. And it appears lower than 8% among children below the age of 10. Below the age of 10. These points lead us to conclude that the rate of FGM has fallen steadily in the last few decades. From our interviews with people of both sexes aged 15 to 49, 38% still support the practice of FGM for reasons of religion, tradition, and culture. Such a rate clearly shows that launching immediate intervention and awareness programs, along with public engagement projects, is urgently required to change attitudes. Although it is clear that support among younger generations is lower and FGM rates have declined in each of the past 10 years, it is difficult to decide whether FGM as a whole is declining quickly. A few important factors in this decline are what we might term modernity, better access to education, a lack of interest in religion among youth, greater access to all sorts of media, partly through the impact of technology, and the impact of migration from villages to towns. A large number of villages have secondary homes in nearby towns. What's more, elderly bibis may not be able to travel around to perform FGM and are not being replaced by the younger generation of practitioners. To assess whether other regions of Iran are affected by FGM, throughout the fact-finding mission and fieldwork, we continued to identify evidence of FGM in other provinces such as Ilam, Lorestan, Charmehal and Bakhtiari, Kohgiluyam Boyar Ahmad, Khuzestan, Bushehr, Sistan and Baluchistan, Golestan, Khorasan Shomali, Junubi, and Razavi, Gilan, and in the more central parts of Iran, such as Fars and Yazd. Despite the fact that some Sunni Muslims live in several of the above-mentioned provinces, the study revealed no evidence in those locations of FGM. The study also confirms that there is no evidence of FGM in the following: Sistan and Baluchistan, which has a significant population of Sunni Muslims of the Hanafi sect, Hanafi being the fiqh with the largest number of Sunni Muslims. There is also no evidence of FGM among the forcibly migrated Kurds of Khorasan as well as the Turksmen of Hanafi Muslims of Golestan province, or the smallest populations of Turkish Sunni Shafi groups in Erbil province and West Azerbaijan province. Interestingly, the Sunni populated areas of Lorestan region, located in Fars province and bordering Hormozgan province, are also FGM-free. Furthermore, while there are some large Sunni areas of Hormozgan province itself, such as Bastok and its many villages, which do practice FGM, this is at a much lower rate than in the southern regions and islands of the same province. In the provinces of Khuzestan and Bushehr, FGM was not found among either Sunni Arabs or Shia Lur. There was some evidence of FGM among older women in southern areas of Khuzestan province. FGM was also not found in the provinces of Lorestan, Charmehal and Bakhtiari, or among Shia Kurds of Ilam, and only in very small numbers in the villages near town of Mehran, which neighbors Kermanshah province. A low rate of FGM was found among women above the age of 50. The study also found that no young girls are now being cut, which indicates that the tradition of FGM has died away in most of the Shia communities in both Ilam and Kermanshah. The research methodology for this study employed mixed research techniques. Interviews used both open-ended and closed questions, and data was prepared with a mix of qualitative and quantitative methods. This was because the raw figures cannot give an accurate picture of the actual on-ground situation. Likewise, when trying to evaluate the impact of even a simple development intervention, the researchers found that it took complex procedures to bring about behavioral changes, which cannot be captured by a single evaluation process. Mixed methods, through the combination of apparent and hidden realities given by the outcome of qualitative methods and statistical information provided by the quantitative methodology, produce a comprehensive analysis of the problem. Bamberger, 2000. An example is chart 10, which shows there is a higher percentage of women who support FGM than men, and women are therefore having a more prominent role in FGM. According to the women's responses to the questionnaire, the virginity of a woman is of vital importance to secure her future and gain her a good marital status. If a woman can protect her virginity, she has ruined the honor of her family. This ultimately overburdens her to preserve the family's reputation by any means, and, to meet that objective, women continue the ritual of cutting throughout the family. FGM, a declining trend in Iran. In some cases, elements of FGM tradition are very evident, but in others, even nearby villages, FGM has been in decline for the past 2 or 3 generations. Changing times and modern life, the death and non-replacement of babies, the lack of willingness to accept FGM by the younger generation, education, the impact of the media, as well as some level of support from clerics, are all the factors in the decline of FGM. During the decade of this study, it was observed that the rate of FGM declines every year. For the reasons above, and because of the training and awareness-raising campaigns conducted by the study, the following graph demonstrates the reduction of FGM practice during the last 6 years in Hormozgan, West Azerbaijan, Kermanshah, and Kurdistan. Chart 16. Decline in FGM prevalence in Iran during 6-year period. The chart consists of 2 parts. One goes from the number 0 to 1, and the other goes from the year 2009 to 2014, with 4 provinces: Hormozgan, blue; West Azerbaijan, red; Kermanshah, green; and Kurdistan, purple. 2009, red at 0.4, 39%. 2010, red approximately at 0.4, 36%. Green at 0.3, 31%. Purple at 0.3, 29%. 2011, blue at approximately 0.7, 68%. Red at 0.3, 32%. Green 0.3, 28%. Purple at 0.3, 28%. 2012, blue at approximately 0.7, 66%. Red at 0.3, 32%. Green at approximately 0.2, 25%. Purple at approximately 0.2, 23%. 2013, blue at approximately 0.6, 62%. Red at approximately 0.2, 25%. Green at approximately 0.2, 20%. Purple at approximately 0.2, 20%. 2014, blue at 0.6, 60%. Red at 0.2, 21%. Green below 0.2, 18%. Purple below 0.2, 16%. As previously discussed, any prevalence of FGM is declining across the globe, including in the secret pockets in Iran. They are secret pockets because the world has very little knowledge of the presence of FGM in these provinces. Within Iran, a very limited number of people, all of whom belong to FGM-affected provinces, have knowledge of its practice in the country. Chart 16 shows a slow pace of change during the 6-year time frame, the data being with West Azerbaijan in 2009. During the year 2000 to 2011, Kurdistan and Kermanshah also showed responses to the wave of change. Hormozgan province, where the prevalence of FGM is the highest in the country, had still a prevalence of the more than 60% at the end of 2014, while for the same year, it was 21% in West Azerbaijan, 18% in Kermanshah, and 16% in Kurdistan. It is quite evident from the graph that the process of transformation has been initiated and the affected regions are responding to and adopting change. Vulnerability under human rights laws in Iran. since the practice of FGM is centuries old and so embedded in the culture and norms of the communities that practice it, it can be difficult for the new laws criminalizing FGM and the incorporation of measures against FGM into penal codes and existing laws to bear fruit. Because FGM is a taboo in the Middle East, with the exceptions of Iraqi Kurdistan, there was no official acceptance of the practice's existence. So enforcing a law against something that does not officially exist is unrealistic. Nevertheless, there have been some government actions against FGM. For example, Iraq has enacted a law to tackle FGM, especially in the south of Iraqi Kurdistan. The results were minimal at the beginning, but are now improving. Similarly, Egypt still has a high rate of FGM and takes little action against practitioners. The Arab Spring has, however, provided some opportunities to give FGM a higher profile. In the case of Iran, taking action against FGM is even harder because there is a lack of support from the government and a lack of organized NGO groups. Indeed, Iran refused to ratify the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, CEDAW. During the tenure of President Mohammad Khatami, the Iranian parliament passed a bill in favor of joining CEDAW, but it was voted by Iran's powerful Guardian Council on the basis that it contradicts Islamic principles. Nevertheless, Iran has laws that can be used to persecute and punish mutilation of the body. These include the Women's Responsibilities and Entitlement Charters on the rights to life, physical integrity, protection against victimization, mental and physical health, and protection against family violence. However, since most of the above-mentioned laws are patchily enforced, it is hard to find successful claims made by victims of FGM. In addition, the law does not mention FGM specifically and, therefore, the Islamic law of Iran does not protect women from FGM. Alavi and Schwartz, 2015. These laws mean that FGM is carried out in people's houses by midwives and not medical practitioners. Alavi and Schwartz, 2015. The lack of information has been coupled with the government's denial of the existence of FGM, making it difficult for the issue of FGM to catch the attention of the relevant ministries, has incorporated some general anti-mutilation laws in its penal code, and, according to the Article 479 and Article 663 of the Islamic Penal Code, cases can be invoked when there is cutting of the female genital organs. ARC 2013, Kelly and Breslin 2010. Mutilated persons can also look to the Iranian Protection Law for People with Disabilities, which was enacted in 2003, and the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which became law in 2007. In addition, Iran has ratified the Convention of the Rights of the Child, CRC. Article 2, Paragraph 2 of the CRC states that states parties shall take all appropriate measures to ensure that the child is protected against all forms of discrimination or punishment on the basis of the status, activities, expressed opinions, or beliefs of the child's parents, legal guardians, or family members. Article 24 of the CRC puts emphasis on the health of the child, which would be violated if a child is a victim of FGM. Major contributing factors. FGM originated as one of the forms of control over the fidelity of women, particularly when men were away for a long time. Salam and Dewal linked this to social acceptance of women by their communities and societies. Often it is governments that violate the human rights of citizens by not properly implementing laws. Similarly, the implementation of many human rights is not possible without the support of the government concerned. However, patriarchal culture and norms often prevail even where the government is trying to do something, especially in the context of women's and children's rights, as ongoing FGM in Iran and Egypt shows. Despite government's efforts to ban it, and despite many fatwas about the forbidden status of the practice in Islam, FGM is still flourishing. Abyad, 2008. In addition to patriarchy, the political structure and system are equally responsible for this. FGM is performed without any direct involvement of men. However, it appears that a large majority of men in the Kurdish and southern areas of Iran are the least aware of the practice. The disconnection of men seems to apply to other women's issues as well. Many studies confirm that men have no knowledge of the reproductive health of women. In the most of the societies we are focusing on, it is considered to be a woman's issue or secret, and men have no say in it. Momo, 2005. However, men may be influenced by clerics and imams who preach about the practice as having diverse benefits and a connection with religion. It is interesting to discuss the attitudes of some of the women who have undergone FGM. According to them, those who are not caught are not full women. For them, FGM is something that needs to be done to bring dignity to both women and girls, and to preserve their chastity. Kelly and Breslin, 2010. These women do not question FGM as they consider it an old tradition. Importantly, FGM is mostly done when a girl is too young to have any say in the matter. The practice is perpetuated when women put their daughters through FGM, as they consider it mandatory for getting married. More on the male perspective. Although FGM is something that happens within the female realm, the role of men cannot be overlooked. Some men take cover behind their religion and see any endeavor to end FGM as a Western idea on women's liberation. In addition, FGM may give men more pleasure because of the tighter vaginal opening. And, most conservative, FGM practicing societies, men refuse to marry uncut girls. Some Iranian men from practicing communities believe that FGM controls women's sexual drives, and they may say that their communities is much purer, with fewer moral problems compared to Shia Persian or Turkish communities. A common argument used by Sunni men in Sunni populations studied is that if their women were not cut, they would not be able to control them, which could result in behaviors similar to their Shia counterparts or women in sexually oriented TV programs or films. During our study, some men shared that they had sexual intercourse with uncut women from other parts of Iran. They stated that cut women's genitals are much smoother, smaller in shape, and enjoyable for sex. However, they also claimed that uncut women were better for foreplay. A few of the male interviewees had no knowledge of FGM or whether their wives had been cut. Interestingly, once they were informed of the danger of FGM and its negative impacts on women's sexual enjoyment, such as they cannot enjoy sex with their husbands because their clitoris have been partially or fully cut, therefore, they cannot be aroused fully, most confirmed this was the case in their sexual relationships with their wives and said their women were not hot or do not give us pleasure. They also admitted that to satisfy their sexual desires, they had other sexual partners or simply married a younger second wife. Later, they were asked whether, in light of their new knowledge of FGM, they would be willing to have their own daughters cut, therefore suffering the same agony and perhaps being cheated on by their husbands. Their interviewees could not answer and instead remained silent and looked away. This is the end of podcast. This podcast was recorded by Taranum Noruz Naseri.